Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I appreciate you all for being so supportive. And what I mean by that is that the fact that we got nominated for an NAACP Image Award is huge. And it, to me, means that you see the work that we're trying to do. You have been consistent, and the podcast is growing and growing and growing. So I'm just saying thank you because I'm overly I don't even know if that makes sense, but you get what I'm saying. The other part of today's monologue. I think days later, even after the Super Bowl, we are talking about Kendrick Lamar and what everything meant. And while we're breaking it all down, this is why I ultimately believe the take is, at the end of the day, that performance will be talked about and written about, and it will go down in history. Black history, to be specific. So whether you enjoyed it or not, for it to have us in a chokehold trying to understand it means, one, we're thinking outside the box. Two, we're thinking, period. We're not just reading the headline and not the context of the story. And then three, we are thinking. When's the last time we have been entertained with thought? I don't know. I do not remember the last time, so I thank him for that. And again, shout out to Jalen Hurts. We are so happy that he won. I know I was. It's been a good Black History Month thus far. But I do know that I'm going to share this with you. I have been wrestling with, and I said this last week, I have been wrestling with not being too emotional in these times. Meaning, when I have a platform and I am speaking on things that are near and dear to my heart, the intersection of sports, culture, and politics, the Super Bowl was a perfect example of that. And when I am on different shows, like on CNN, and they say, talk to me about the Super Bowl and what that performance meant, that is the wheelhouse where I like to live. But it's hard for me not to be emotional when defending certain choices that I know why Serena was crip walking. I know why Kendrick decided to create a flag full of Black men, Black people. Like, I know why. And for people to act like they don't understand where we are in this country, that gets me highly emotional. So what I have been working on, and what I think is important, and I'll share this lesson with you all, is that you, when being frustrated with the times that we live in, or when people are polarizing, they're extremely left or extremely right, for us to be heard and for us to be organized and for us to get through these very uncomfortable times, we're going to have to remove the emotion. Passion is fine. Being passionate is perfect. Being passionate about what you believe in, and being hopeful and wanting more for our existence in the culture, perfect. But emotion that doesn't allow you to hear what the other person is saying, emotion that irritates you, that provokes you in a way that shuts you down, that's not going to help. I'm talking to myself. I'm really not talking to y'all. I'm talking to myself. So we appreciate you. With that being said, our guest today, you're going to love it. So maybe I say all that and I'm going to be emotional. Excuse me. I'll pick it up from here. 3, 2, 1. Our guest today, and I'll be all emotional when I said it. I said don't be emotional, but today I might be. I lived to tell the story. Tamika Mallory, y'all, is on the podcast, and I'm excited. I'm excited that we get to hear her story. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition of Naked Sports.
Hey everybody, I'm Tamika D Mallory. I am a social justice leader and a movement strategist. I'm also the mother of a 25-year-old young Black man and a grandmother of a 2-year-old baby girl named Blair Hunter. And I fight every single day for them. I want to see them grow up in a world that protects them, that they're safe in. And so I do what I do for me just as much as I do it for you.
Oh, beautiful. Everybody, welcome. That was beautiful. I just got a little tingle right here in the midsection here. I was like, okay, I feel it in my stomach. Yeah. Everybody, welcome Tamika D Mallory to Naked
Cari,
Sports.
What's going on?
Thank you for
You look
being
amazing.
Here. Thank you. You're very sweet. I appreciate it, as do you.
Thank you.
I got dressed for you today. I was like, let me go ahead and brush my teeth.
Yeah. I bet you do that all
every
the time.
So often. No, I was very tight about being here on time and what looks right and what, because there are those who deserve so much respect, and that's how I feel about you.
Thank you.
And I knew that by my intentional way of how I was handling the day, and so it's an honor it really truly is an honor.
Thank you for saying that.
It is an honor to have you here.
I do.
We are in crazy times. It's wild. You wake up every day, you're like, this is wild. This is wild. This is wild. I think there are so many things that are being thrown at us that it's hard for us to focus on one. I want to talk to you about emotional energy. I find myself struggling with relaying facts and removing emotion so that I can think clearly in this moment. We have a group of people waking up to Donald Trump's new, executive orders every day, and they're frustrated by it. How are you handling this time?
Yeah, so I just want to be clear that I don't remove my emotions from how I see the world. I think, I know that's a thing that everybody is online saying we can't be so emotional. It's very emotional for me to see our country going in the direction that it's going in. I think that the way that I act after I've taken in the information has to be done, smartly. It has to be that I really have a group of people around that I'm able to talk through what do we think is the next move, should there even be a move at all, because this is a time of confusion, and there are going to be moments when we will have an opportunity to respond, and those things need to be done in a different way because we're dealing with a president and the real president, who I believe is Elon Musk, and then you have the president's little homie, which is Donald Trump, and you also have a trifecta, meaning that they are controlling the Supreme Court, they're controlling the Congress, they're controlling everything around us, right? They are now, unfortunately, in a position of power that does not allow for balance. And I think that's important. So I'm not one of those people to say, I want the entire Congress to just be Democrats. I don't believe in that. I think there should be a difference of thought. I think that we have to have different perspectives because in this country, we've got people that come from all different sides of the aisles, and we have people who think differently. Their experiences are differently. And I think that there should be that type of representation. So let me just be clear about that. Nonetheless, when you have a situation where the majority of the power is one individual group of people and folks that unfortunately don't stand up for our issues, that's very, very scary. And it makes me feel emotional. And I don't think that people should run from that feeling inside, because that is what actually gets us on a path towards doing something. When you are, too stoic about what you see going on around you, and I understand it's protective gear. You're right. Yeah, you're protecting your mind. You're like, I'm not going to lose my mind. Yeah. But when we approach things from, a perspective of, I'm just detaching myself, that's very dangerous. Yeah. And I also know that there's a difference between how Black women show up and how everyone else responds.
Because that's the core of the matter. Absolutely. That's what we're talking about. Right. In my case, anyway.
Yeah. As a Black woman, we feel things in our stomachs, as you said, right? Like it's immediately when things happen, it hits us in our stomachs, and we do carry a lot of deep emotions about the world, right? We always have. In fact, it has been because of that deep intrinsic, feeling and intuition that we've been able to be some of the most creative leaders in our society. So I don't get into the separation, but I do think that the way you move has to be after deep thought, after being able to talk to people around who might be able to help you see different perspectives, and you got to be smart about your steps.
I think the key there, be emotional, because you're never going to take that away, but you're saying sit with that before you act. That is where I'm at. Yeah. The sitting with it part. Yeah. I don't necessarily sit with it. I'm ready to be like, but that's the way to be smart. Yeah. That's the way to organize.
That's right.
These are all like, I think every time I talk to someone about this issue, they're like, well, what are we going to do? First is taking care of yourself, I think. And that is what we should do. Be emotional, but sit with it first. Like, why am I feeling this? What are we going to do? If you are in an action plan. But I'm speaking for what I hear every single day. Why does it feel as if those that are Democrats, and I know you're not speaking for Democrats, but those who could be fighting this opposition, this administration, why does it feel as if they're silent? Why does it feel as if they're just shock and awe, even though I know all of that is true?
Right.
But
right.
What's next?
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's two things. They're not all silent because we've been watching people like Jasmine Crockett speaking out.
But why does it feel that way to some of the
because we
people?
want to see it, like the person speak out, and then something changes. And what's happening is that no matter what people are saying, it is not actually slowing down or stopping what we see coming from the White House every day. And so that is, it's hard to reconcile that, people are speaking out, but they are not in power. They are not. Now, and there are things that they can do, but I do think that we live in a social media world, so we expect to see everything laid out, and you can't really plan what you're going to do in a revolution step by step on the internet in front of other people. So I would imagine that behind the scenes, I know there are. I mean, I'm involved in some of the conversations. There are people who are working really hard to figure out what are going to be effective moves, not just, rallies and protests. That's cool, but that's not going. And I think people should do that because there always has to be a sounding of the alarm. The world needs to know that people are not comfortable or accepting of what we see in front of us, that we know what fascism looks like. We know what sexism and racism looks like. And we know when there's a danger to our society and something that might harm our children and our children's children. We're talking about generational issues that are being created in this moment, and many of them are issues that our ancestors and people who really put their lives on the line fought for us to be in a better space, and now we're going backwards. So it's pretty. It's what do I want to say? It is, yes, I want to say it's dangerous, but it is also a time when you need to have strategy that can't be uncovered in front of the world every step of the way. So I would tell folks we're only a few months in. There's a lot of legal work that's being done. I mean, just look at the guardrails, right?
Those are the guardrails. They're helping us.
Yeah, and it has been helping us. Yeah. And so I'm sure we'll see more of those things happening. But you've got to give people the opportunity to sit back, watch the playbook, not respond to every single thing, because a big part of what they're doing in this moment is hitting. So you're kind of like all over the place. You don't know which way to go. We have to do the sit back, watch it happen, kind of get an understanding, and then decide which things are most important to us and where do we have the capacity to fight and how can we actually win.
And this isn't just, by the way, that's beautiful what you just said in terms of that was a full action plan. But this isn't, if I'm at home and I am a hairstylist and let me not even use that example. If I'm a stay-at-home mom and I feel like I can't help.
Right, well, you can.
Correct. Your fight doesn't look like your fight.
Absolutely.
Everybody's commitment to this actual fight that we're in looks different. Looks different.
Absolutely.
So when we have someone like, Tabitha Brown, no shade to her, jumps on and she says, listen, here are my thoughts on where we're at. And, and I want y'all to still keep, I'm paraphrasing, still be down with me and help me, because I want us to send a different type of message. That created an entire division to boycott or not to boycott.
Right.
And I remember thinking, the message is, I understand, by way of background, some of you guys know about Target, but the messaging to me was like, why does it have to be either or? Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you just do what feels right for you?
Absolutely.
Because that's your fight.
Absolutely.
That's what you want to do to commit to the fight.
And I think people are doing that. I think, again, social media is not a full depiction of what is happening in the real everyday lives of real people who are not even online, right? We've got a whole bunch of folks who the algorithm doesn't even tell them a boycott is happening, right? So they don't even know. They're making decisions based upon, whatever feels right to them, and they're not even being influenced by just seeing everything online. Now, I would say that the Target issue is big enough that it probably has reached many people, millions of people. However, there are some folks that don't even have a cell phone that has the internet on it. So let's just be clear, because folks forget about a whole bunch of people that might have access to a Target or Walmart or something like that in their community. But if anything exposed the issues with access to online services and all of that, it was the pandemic. There were children who did not have a laptop. They didn't have a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any of that to be able to log on. There was one computer that came from the school in a child's home that the mother, the father, everybody in the household and other children had to use. So we have to also just be mindful that what we see is a small, small portion of all of our people that are all across this country. And those people will make a determination of how they feel and what they want to do based upon that instinct, that feeling in their stomach, right? And it's in my comment section. There are women who are like, I went into Target because I had to go to CVS, or I had to get something, or maybe I forgot about the boycott, or maybe I just decided I was going to try anyway. You know, I was going to follow those who have said, come in and buy Black products. And they said, I just couldn't do it. I felt sick. And I walked out. And I mean, literally, you can go to my post about the boycott and read women who are these people. And I think I'm included in this. Maybe you are. Are you a person that went to Target?
No, I know it wasn't. Yes, I love Target, but it wasn't. It was easy for me to let it go.
Yes.
That wasn't a sacrifice for me.
So I could spend 2 hours. Maybe 2 hours, 2.5
Easy.
hours.
That's
Target.
what it's designed to do.
Other people are saying 4 hours.
Okay.
So they found it as a safe space, and they really felt like, okay, Target is for our values. They're standing with us. We know the commitments that Target made very out loud. It was very bold. This happened after the summer of 2020, but even before that, people really loved Target. Now to see that they would make these loud announcements about rolling back their DEI initiatives and ending some of their programs that made them feel like a safe space to people, there are going to be folks that's going to say, you know what, I got to support a brand directly.
Yeah.
I can't go in the store. And then there are other people who are going to say, I don't even care if it's a Black brand or not. Target is my Target, and I'm going to go there. But let's just put it all in perspective. The Montgomery bus boycott took over 300 days to get everybody on the same page, right?
Wow.
Like, I would say that they got everyone on the same page earlier than that. But nonetheless, it went on for 300 plus days, right? So people need to not be so concerned with trying to force everything to happen at the beginning. Things take time. You've got to educate people. Folks have to begin to see less Black folks in the space when they walk in the door and start saying, this feels different to me. What's going on? Let me check in and figure it out. Oh, I've started supporting Black businesses. I didn't even know I could go to this website and this website. I don't need Target. Oh, I've learned there's a hardware store and a different type of pharmacy in my community. And as time goes on, you will begin to see more and more people move towards wherever it is that we're ultimately going to end up.
Mm-hmm. And it's also developing new habits, because we will right
away. But that's the biggest piece. There have been so many people to say to me, well, why not Target boycott this, and this? And I'm like, well, let's just be clear. Our generation is not the boycott generation. We're big consumers, right? And we are kind of like boycott, because we do get into these moments where like, I'm going to buy Black, I'm going to bank Black,
sure.
I'm going to do, these things. And so what we're doing in this moment is sort of getting people in the posture, getting your body, your mind, everything ready to say, we're going to have to fight back using the tools that are at our disposal. You can't vote for a president again for 4 years. And the midterm elections, which is coming up in 2 years, and it'll be here quicker than you know, people need to start saying they're going to run for office. Let's be clear. You can run. You can say, I've got 2 years before folks will walk in to vote for their local elected officials, and you can run. So people should be thinking of that. But that's still 2 years from now. What can I do today? Well, one thing I can do, just one thing, with $1.8 trillion in spending, the one thing I could do in this moment is say, if you make me feel uncomfortable, you disrespect me, or make me feel like we ain't on the same page, I could keep my money in my pocket.
That's the one thing I can do. I'm going to do it.
And that a mother, a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
she can do that.
Yes, you can. And you got a little time to look around and see where else you can shop.
That's right. You will not die without Target.
You
will not die.
I will tell you this. I'm in deep with Amazon, but I'm pulling away. I'm in deep.
Me too.
I'm in deep with Amazon.
You know what? I have not said it out loud so that I don't frustrate myself.
Correct.
For failure, because you know how we are. You start being like, damn, I fell off the wagon, I did this and that.
Yeah.
But I notice, even with my own habits, I'm like, actually, I could run to this store. I'm on my way so-and-so place. And I've started to pull back on the amount of things that I'm ordering from Amazon.
You know, there are people who, and I want to make sure we make clear distinctions because you were very clear. Do what feels right for you. There are people who say, well, if you're on that phase of Amazon and all the companies you know that are rolling back their DEI programs, or you feel like they are very supportive of this current administration, whatever it is you feel, and you're against that, but you're going to use social media. You're still going to use the internet. And they'll say, well, you're being that's hypocrisy. You're a hypocrite. You use the one without the other. My philosophy on that, and I want to ask you, as people decide what they will do and what they won't do, I think if you can use social media to your benefit to help to spread a message, then why not use it?
Well, first of all, the people who own these big companies, and by the way, I'm a big supporter of Fanbase. I'm an investor. It is a Black-owned social media company, and I hope a platform, and I hope that one of the things we do while we are building up new habits is to go get a fan base membership. And get on there, set your profile up, start talking on there, and working your magic on Fanbase, right? Doing your thing there. Please do that. To support our brother Isaac Hayes, but more than that, to support ourselves, because it is an environment that was created by people who look like us for us. So let's do that. So Fanbase is number one. I would say this. If you boycott your boots, your tights, your bottomed pants, your shirt, your jacket, all of that, you're going to be sitting here with no clothes on. And most people are not going to do that. It is the case of whataboutism, which is also, it's how the art of confusion. When you start saying, well, why not this, why not that, why not... People know about this boycott because it's on social media, right? Like, it's spread, and the stock numbers have been declining. So yes, I understand we could be off all these platforms, and I don't disagree with you. And I think if that's what folks choose to do, good. But let's just also understand that if we take away everything we have, we will be left with nothing else. And I'm not going to start pushing that, because I know most folks are not going to do it, and it's a failing strategy. Also, when people open up their phone and they turn on Instagram or they turn on Facebook, they don't see their bank account go down. They don't see the direct correlation between you open up your phone and then you lose money, and when they go to Target, Walmart, these places, that when they walk in, they give their credit card and they know that they are making a financial investment. Is there also a financial investment for social media networks? Absolutely. They're using us. So we should use them as well, right? Until we can't, it's a mutual usage of one another, right? So that's, I think that. And the last thing I'll say on it is that I don't believe in stretching myself to the point that I can't actually be impactful with one thing. Yeah. Right? I used to do that. I used to do 10 projects at one time and realize that none of them were working as good. They weren't. I wasn't as effective as I could be because I was just doing too many things. Yeah. But when I give my all to that one thing, I can change. I can make change. I can do something heavy when I really focus and narrow in and be intentional about one project. So yeah, do we need to get to all these other companies? Sure. But once we get ourselves disciplined enough and use to make one company, and we all see what we were able to do together, it's going to make it easy to say, well, let's go over here and deal with X company that's doing something else we don't like.
So smart. That's a good strategy as we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So smart. Let me do one thing really, really well. And since we know how to do that one thing really, really well, we'll move on to others. We don't have to take all these companies out at once. That still doesn't make me feel better about my Amazon purchases. I'm easing out of it. I'm posturing. I'm
You're like,
well,
okay.
where am I getting my wig glue? You know what I mean?
The beauty supply store.
I have to go but do they carry that special one that melts the lace directly into the forehead?
You know what you should be doing though is go in the store and tell them, this is the one I use.
Thank you.
I wish you had. I have a social media following as you do. I also have a show.
Sure.
I will make sure that people know they can come get this glue over here. When you walk into, it's the same thing with my book. I've been calling Black bookstores like, hey, my book is coming out. They're like, oh, let me order some right now. They don't have every book just automatically. They have to make an order. You've got to learn how to communicate. We just have to get ourselves back to a place where we actually communicate with business owners, we communicate with one another, educate folks on what's the good products. You think the beauty supply store doesn't want to know what's the good one that melts so good that everybody's lined up to get it? Do you think everybody want to know about that glue, sis? Because it looks really good.
The glue? Where is the glue?
It looks really good.
That is so smart. First and foremost, I'm hollering inside because you want to know where the glue is. I ain't gonna tell y'all though.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. No, but to your point, we have to get back to where we used to talk.
Community.
We have Roy Wood on the show, and he talked about his special, which is about he's a comedian, Lonely Flowers, and he's like, we're comfortable with being by ourselves.
Absolutely.
We're comfortable with isolation, and to my point, changing our habits, to me, is going to be the hardest thing to do in the culture, for us to really show that we understand that you are intentionally marginalizing us and using words like wokey and DEI to say that you don't want us here. Kendrick Lamar's performance, to me, obviously, it hit the internet. I want to get your thoughts on that. Hit the internet hard, and it's not that it always is just on the internet, but I went to the game. I was at the game.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so in the arena, we couldn't hear. It was made for TV. We couldn't hear as well as we wanted to, but the visual was so impactful. I knew that I had to pay attention, and I knew that it was important.
You knew it was important.
It felt very special.
That's right.
What did you think when you saw that?
I thought at first of all, I just knew it was powerful. I loved every bit of it. At first, I was kind of like, what song is this? Like, so I was in the like trying to figure it out as it goes along. But it was the second time I watched it that it knocked me off my feet. And I just was, and then I actually had the sound up as loud as possible so I could really hear it and feel it all. Because the first time I watched it, I was in a restaurant, like a community little restaurant. Okay. They had it down at a nice, it wasn't too bad. And the people who were sitting next to me happened to be white folks, and they were like, what is this? And what is going on? So I was all like, which song? And what is he saying? But that second time I turned it up in my home, I watched it, and I was like, wow, this man did something extremely powerful. And I couldn't help but think to myself that Jay-Z, wow, like, he could have said, well, we got to change it up a little bit. We need to add some different types of people to the performances or whatever. But to allow him to create a real Black history moment, super Black history moment.
Huge Black history moment.
It was really powerful. And there are a lot of people, even in my family, who I saw on Facebook immediately like, I don't know what the hell just happened.
Sure.
And what I said to them was that art requires you to look at it several times to see it from different perspectives. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with you, right? In fact, artists at times don't even want you to get the point in the beginning. And so they layer it so that you will have to continue to study the piece in order for you to find all the gems. And so it's okay. It doesn't make you dumb. It doesn't make you, anti-intellect. It doesn't make you any of those things. It just means that if you're interested in learning what the message is, you'll go back and rewatch it, you'll re-listen to it and pick up all of the moments. Samuel Jackson's role is incredibly powerful because he really sort of exemplifies what we see happening in this moment. And just knowing the roles that he's played in the past, like you can't separate those things. You know, he was in Django and right. So like
and you know him, you know him,
and you know that he loves Black people.
You know his love for Black people is a real thing. Yes.
So he's storytelling.
Yeah.
In the midst of this performance,
so amazing.
I thought it was great. I thought it was beautiful. I thought Serena was so fun.
Oh, she was
so
much
cute
fun.
and so fun.
Yeah.
I love the fact that SZA, you know, I'm all for put your booty shorts on, shake, 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 shake. I'm all into that. I believe you can twerk and work at the same time. So this is not in any way to say that if SZA had been, you know, dressed in something more revealing, that I would have had a problem with it. I'm cool with it, no problem. But I love the balance. I love the fact that we can show that hip hop isn't all about that. It's not all about being revealing. Sometimes you can have all your clothes on and sing your ass off.
Yeah, which exactly,
and that's exactly what she did.
Right.
So I love that it was different from what folks are used to. It wasn't the jingle that everybody is like, you know, so excited for that you actually had to think.
Yeah. And also, I thought we taped an intro, and I said at my core, I thought that this is wild. I was like, it made everybody think instead of just breezing past a headline, looking at something for 5 minutes. It made us all think, because I had to go and watch it, obviously. So we hopped in a car. We were in a car with a bunch of I was in a suite with a bunch of people who, Ludacris was one, you know, he performed last year. Just a bunch of people who were artists.
Right.
And they all right away were like, I need to process that again.
Right.
That was that we know is special. We didn't. There may I couldn't hear, but it was like, and it was so impactful. I think it's gonna really, to me, his kid. It'll be Black history. It will be in books. I think our kids' will read about that. I also feel that way about you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I always think to myself,
that was such a sweet transition.
It was true, though.
You.
It's true. In my mind, I was like on the way here telling my friend about my podcast today, and I said, you know what? I have been so incredibly blessed to be around people who I know our kids' will read about. Like, this is not just, this is how back in the day when Maya Angelou would be kicking it, you know, with whomever she was with all James Baldwin and her group of people, or, you know, Nikki Giovanni, or,
that's
right.
When
you know that they were just doing these conversations, and somehow, like, you know, we stumble upon those gems.
Right.
And you're definitely going to be that.
Well, you know, thank you for saying that. I just see myself as like a person who picked up the baton, and I'm working hard to pass it along to someone else just a little bit lighter. And so I don't ever really sit back and think to myself, I'm going to be in history books, hence the fact that I had to write about myself just to make sure that, you know, my work is recorded.
And speaking of this book, I Live to Tell the Story. Okay, so where do we begin? You are very honest. It's a memoir about, I don't know if you want to use this word, your rise.
I've been calling it a coming of age story.
Okay.
You know.
Well, you arguably had a period of time where you were, and still are, but you were the leading voice. People would come to you. You were speaking for the culture. You were speaking for Black people. And whether you thought you were or not, you were speaking for us. And people leaned on you, as we do historically in our culture. We need that. We need you. And then you talk about, and I don't know if the word betrayal is fair, but the word of how you rise, and then you find yourself in this position, and you're like, oh, it's really not what it's meant to be. There are people who are not happy to see me doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then you have this moment where you have to really just sit with yourself. You fight and struggling with your mental issues, sadness, whatever it may be, depression, all of the things that come, all of the things that come to being a leader, and feeling so isolated, and then fighting, bringing yourself out of that. And sharing that as a testimony for the rest of us, because that story, your story, is not unfamiliar. Your specifics are, but like the story isn't.
That's right.
So thank you for being so honest and sharing this. What
so
made you
much.
decide it was time to write?
Well, other people saw this book in me. I can't even say that I woke up one day and was like, I'm going to go write a book. Actually, I went through a whole process to how I ended up with a book deal. Because, I have two books. State of Emergency was the first one, and this is the second one. But Charlemagne, to his credit, through his new publishing,
imprint?
his new publishing company, and he definitely was like, you can do this, and we don't even need to talk back and forth about it. You got it. Go
call you
do
later.
it.
Yeah.
I was the first book on his imprint, State of Emergency. This book, we weren't 100% sure about, but after writing an outline, I was like, oh, there's like 800 pages of content here.
Oh, wow.
I could actually really do it. I could write a book.
Wow.
And so the entire team believed in me enough to help me get through this process, which was not easy. It was a painful process to open up those old wounds and open up the chest drawers that you stuff everything in and close it and never want to really go back. But I had to take some of that stuff out and re-examine it. And then I had to really reflect on what are the lessons. And that's hard because those lessons oftentimes are not identifying external things, external factors, but you got to do a lot of self-assessment. And I think that's what this book gave me the opportunity to do, which means it helped me grow. Even as I wrote my own book, even as my story is out in the world, I'm growing from it. I'm healing from it. And so I truly hope that a person who picks it up is going to be like, wow, as I read through this book, I'm changed in one way or another.
Everyone who wrote their own memoir said, when someone that they wrote about read it, whether it be a family member or someone that was a colleague that they worked with, they were very offended.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about offended. I think, my mom has expressed that some of it feels uncomfortable to her.
Oh.
But that's my mama. That's what we do. She,
Yeah.
she gonna be the one to tell me if no one else does.
Yeah.
But overall, I think my family, they know the struggles that I've been through, even the things that I didn't tell them. I'm sure it hurts to see those things. But what I will say is that they knew that something was going on. And so now they just get an opportunity to see the details. And, will there be even some healing for them in this? Yeah, for sure. But they're not pissed off, if you will.
Yeah.
They're just like, wow, you really, truly have been through a lot of things we didn't know. Like my book is, 100% true. It's like I went through this book several times, and if I thought a detail was wrong or I forgot something that drove me crazy, now no one gets everything right. I was, I'm writing about when I was a little girl in the housing project.
Yeah, of course. You're not going to remember every
little
single detail.
There may be some things that maybe are in the wrong space, but this is the truth. It is my truth, and it is the truth.
Amen.
And so how can you really be upset about that? About someone telling their story. I changed the names of people who did things to me that I know they wouldn't be proud of.
Oh, wow.
I did
that. Good for you.
Yeah, I did that.
Good for you. Oh, wow. That's so gracious. Now that's the way to be. Like, that's what I want to be instead of petty McBetty. Like, and being like, but so you did that for other reasons too, because you don't need that.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there's some legal things, challenges that you can face when you expose people. But, like you said, I could have just been like, I'm going to throw it at the wall and just deal with it as it comes. But I would hope that some of those individuals have grown up and realized that some of the things they did when they were young, it was wrong. And, and if we encountered one another, they might even apologize,
How bad did that hurt you? When you trust people or when you think people, really are on the same page, and then you find out that someone you loved, near and dear to you, is not who they appear to be. It happens all the time. But how do you, and it's not so much how bad, I don't want to know how much it hurt. I know how much that hurts. But how do you regain trust? How do you decide to still pick up and decide, this is what I have been chosen to do?
Well, on a personal side, I would say that one of the ways that I pick up and regain trust, or at least keep going, is to acknowledge that I'm not perfect. That I also, at times, have shown someone that who they thought I may have been, I'm not, right? Because we all of us fall short, every single one of us. And so I have to remember that I'm human. And, you know, and I also have to remember that you never know what people are going through or what circumstances have been created that allow people to respond in certain ways. Sure. So, you know, give them grace. There's a lot. You gotta have grace, or you can be angry. That's okay too. But just remember that you also are not perfect, and you kind of got to dig into that space in order for you to be able to be able to see other people's humanity and their decisions. So,
well,
that's been.
Give me a lesson. I feel like are you talking about me to my face? You tell me to my face? I'm like, I know.
We all human.
I know.
We all human. And sometimes you got to dig deep and be like, yeah, I did that. Yeah. It was wrong, and I know I did that. Yeah, you know, that I would say that from a personal perspective. But on the business side, those people who I feel like have betrayed me, or I thought they would stand with me and they didn't. It hurt. It took me to a real dark place as a result of all the pain. But I'm in a better space now because I realized that I already probably, in my mind, when I think back, I knew they really weren't for me any damn way. And I tried to force relationships that they really weren't good for me. And I knew that. I should have kept them at, you give whatever we need to do together, we do it, but I don't have any expectation of you. Our expectations of people to show up and to be, you know, our saving grace and all of that, is pretty dangerous because you can absolutely, and this book shows you can absolutely get your feelings hurt. Yeah. So I've been there. I've done that many times. Actually.
Okay. If we didn't give y'all a teaser to go and get this book, you can order it wherever you get your books. You have to support sis. And I think it is a manual that everybody can relate to. Not just the 92, but everybody.
For sure. No, everybody. You know, there are people reading the book now. I have a homeboy who's like a street guy, you know, like he's like, you know, I don't know about reading all these books and all this stuff. He's totally not into that. Not to say the street guys don't read. That ain't his thing. He's like, man, I'm out here, I'm working, I'm outside, you know, and he's reading the book and sending me details like this and that, and you said this, and I remember this, and I remember that. I got another homeboy who doesn't even have time. He runs like so many different businesses. Shout out to my boy Aaron. He's reading it and he's sending me details also. So black men that come from different types of lives, you know, one that's out in the projects every day working with
it's
youth.
For everybody.
Yeah, he's
uptown,
like,
downtown, we in the middle.
You a businessman. It's for you're everybody. Reading it. And then, of course, black women. Of course. I hope that this book is a love letter to you. Because, you know, what we've been through is not the sum of our existence. And we do make it through so much. And it's in these pages. So, you know, the cover of the book is my braids on one side and my bust down on the other side.
Because we do both. We do both. We do this.
Get you a girl that do both.
We do both.
That's right. I designed this I wouldn't say I designed it, but I came up with the concept on my own. And it's really special to me because it shows you the truth about who I am. I can definitely do the cornrows. I can fight with the stitch braids and be outside, but I can be a girly girl too. And I think we all have a bit of that, right?
Well, I'm glad you were chosen and you have answered the call. Thank you so much. I live to tell the story. You guys go and get that book. I'm Not Playing everywhere, right?
Everywhere. Everywhere a book can be sold. But of course, support black bookstores as much as you can. That's really important to me. And I would say if you're sitting somewhere and you don't know which black bookstore to go to, Barnes & Noble.
Barnes & Noble. Yes. Okay. I didn't know that. See, there you go. I didn't know that. Today years old. Thank you, sis. I'm silly. I'm silly too.
Thank you.
Of course.
It's all good.